Today, I'm going to share with you how you can begin to create your reality consciously so you don't regret where you're at a year or 3 years from now. You're going to be able to understand a little bit about how our reality works, how we can shape our reality. And most people don't realize that they can change where they're at. So today, I want to share with you what I have done over the last 8 years to now be in a better spot with a family of my own now, with my wife and my son, doing what I love, which is consulting. And anybody can do what I've done, which is change careers, change their reality around. But we're just not taught this in school, and no one really explains to us that our thoughts, our emotions, and our daily actions all have a lot of power. We think that we go through school, we go through society, we think that we're set on this one career path or this one plan for our life. And then things happen that often makes us question this. Things break down, we change what we're into, our passions change, our hobbies change. And today I want to share with you a bit about my story and also what you can start to do right now, like what grounded, tangible actions can you take to design the reality of your dreams. So welcome, my friend. My name is Trevor. This is my journey to consciousness. I share a lot on this channel about what I've been through over the last 8 years, how I've been able to improve myself and my reality in my life. And just, I want to help people. I want to share what's worked for me. And if you enjoy this content, definitely subscribe so you don't miss any of the content. I have a couple of videos on this channel so far of this video series, talking about just kind of the first few videos of the series were about my initial awakening, dark night of the soul, the hermit phase. And now we'll be getting more into more of the fun stuff, quantum mechanics and law of attraction and subconscious mind. How can we really use these tools to actually make a change in our lives? So I want to start by talking about what happened to me, which was going through school, high school and college. I was on this track. I was on this track to be an actuary. Actuaries price insurance. They're good with numbers, good with math. I loved math. I still love math, but I was always good with numbers and good with calculus, statistics, all these math subjects was always my thing, right? So I was in college. I was passing these exams to be an actuary. I actually passed the first 4 exams all on my first try. And I was on this track. I was doing well on this track. And then in 2018, when I began to question my health and wondering why I was always feeling bad, I realized I had this thing called leaky gut, and I did a lot of research into holistic health, my diet, nutrition, no more tap water, no more junk food, the basic stuff, right? But then I got deeper into learning about the world, learning about how the media is set up, government's set up, everything's kind of set up to kind of control us. And as I was doing that research, I came across this guy named Joe Dispenza. And Joe Dispenza was teaching way back then, about 8 years ago. He was teaching a lot about how our thoughts, emotions, actions shape our reality, and that our brain there's this thing called neuroplasticity where our brain can be rewired. And this was just, for me, it was just mind-blowing because I had just gone through high school and then 4 years of college. I went to a big school, a big business school, and I never learned anything about what this guy, Joe Dispenza, was talking about. And it really helped me open my mind to, I guess, the possibilities that like we're not set on a certain path in life. And a lot of us go through school, and what are we always like talking about? What do you want to be when you grow up? What is your career going to be? And we have this mindset that it has to be one thing and one path or one career. Like I never heard people in school talk about how you could have like multiple careers or you could have multiple, ways to make money. It was always just, what is your job going to be? What do you want to be? I want to be an accountant. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a doctor. It was never how it is now, how it is now, I believe, many of us are realizing that we don't have to pick one thing to do 9 to 5 for 40 years and then retire when we're 65. The whole blueprint of living on this planet is changing. And it's very exciting because like I know my kids and the next generations are going to hopefully all have this better mindset when it comes to just living and understanding how our reality works, is that we don't have to play by these old programs. And I've had a really hard time over the last 8 years understanding this because I think it's so deeply rooted into us, how we're programmed going through school and society and our families, that like we have to have one job, but we don't have to just do one thing. We can have multiple passions and hobbies and skills, and we can just do kind of like a lot all at once. And for me, how this has looked is that, like I was sharing about being, going for the actuarial path. That was my career path out of college. And then in 2018, I realized, wow, I don't really enjoy this. I don't really enjoy sitting and working in Excel on the computer 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, not really able to do much creative work, or not able to like be more of a leader or communicate very much. It was just a lot of data heavy work. And I realized, shit, I don't enjoy this. I don't want to be here doing this for 40 years. It's just not going to happen. And I was in New York City, and that was a whole experience on its own, just being around people all the time in a huge city. That taught me a lot. But I knew I didn't want to be down that career path for much longer. I wanted to create a new reality for myself. I wanted to find out how I could have more time freedom. How could I really enjoy what I was doing? How could I also make money, of course, while doing it, and help people and get to share my gifts in a bigger, more meaningful way? And this guy Joe Dispenza would help me out, because I was like learning about I read all of his books and all of his YouTube videos 8 years ago, and I was studying him a lot. And people like him gave me the courage to really go for it. And here's what I had to do before I got to where I am now. I had to go back home to my parents' house, where I grew up, in the same house I grew up in. And I was there for about 3.5 years after college, after I should have been on my own and I should have been working full time. I kind of went backwards, people would say. I kind of went backwards in life, some people might think. Now, for those 3.5 years, 4 years, I was designing my reality, what I wanted to create. But here's really the first step when it comes to creating a new reality. If you're in kind of any of what I just described, maybe you want to create a fresh start for yourself. You're at a career you hate or a job you hate. You kind of want to find, or you want to create a family. You want to create abundance for yourself financially. This is really the first step. The first step to designing your new reality consciously is we have to kind of let what was built up unconsciously, we have to let that fall apart. And how this relates, as an example, I built up this reality of me going for this career as an actuary. Like I said, this actuarial path, I passed the first 4 exams. I was doing well on this path. Then I realized it wasn't for me anymore. And after a few months, I left that job. I left it all behind. And it took time for that to kind of crumble. And I had to be okay with not knowing what's next. I had to let that fall apart. I had to just accept that was kind of, it wasn't all a waste, but it was kind of like I created that whole reality, and then it was almost, it wasn't for nothing, because the skills and all I learned, I still have obviously those skills that I learned from that job. But I had to let that fall apart, and I had to be okay with not really knowing what was next. I moved back home to my parents' house, and I didn't have this huge plan. I knew I wanted to become a coach, or now it's really kind of a consultant, but I knew I wanted to be able to help people and create content like I'm doing now and really serve people on a deeper level. I knew that, but I had no idea how it was going to actually unfold. I had no clue. But I took the first step, which was leaving New York City, leaving it all behind, going back home. And then from there, I just took the steps. After that, I found a restaurant jobs. I got into helping restaurants as a server, then a manager, and I took it kind of step by step, but I had to let that first, reality fall apart. I had to let it go. And that is the hardest part, because what happens to us is that our mind, it wants to know what's next. It wants to have that security. It wants to understand logically, okay, I'm going to quit this job. I'm going to go for this job. I'm going to have the money. It's all going to work out. The mind wants to know that. But our intuition, our heart, it doesn't operate like that. Our heart, our soul, it's more like being in the present moment, being in that flow state, and just going with the currents of life. So before we create a new reality, we have to let the old one fall apart. And then the next step is really to get clear on how do we want to feel? how do we want to feel in this new reality? Do we want to feel like we have a lot of freedom? Do we want to feel happy and joyful? Do we want to feel like we can express ourselves and really share our creativity and our gifts? Right? How do we want to feel on average? Because this is what I've experienced too, is that sometimes we have an idea of what we want in our head. We have this like mental image, which it's good to have a mental image. I'm not saying don't do this. Like having a picture of your end result of what you want in your head. I'll be covering this a lot more on this channel about kind of the quantum physics side of this, but the mental images are great. But here's the thing, is that sometimes we think we want something and the universe actually has a better option for us. And it can surprise us in ways we can't even imagine. But if we focus on the feeling, how we want to feel, that's going to be probably more so the same. All right, so as an example, when I was back home at my parents' house for a couple years, I was doing a lot of meditating, a lot of journaling. I was letting the old reality fall apart, which was my actuarial career, and I was working at restaurants, and I was also doing a lot of video content. I was doing some coaching. I had a men's group. I had a lot of things going on, like during COVID. I was doing some coaching. I had a mentor, a business mentor. All these things I was doing because they felt right. It felt like it was the next step. But my long-term vision was still the same. I wanted to have freedom. I wanted to be able to be my own boss, have my own schedule, be financially abundant. And before I knew it, after 3 or so years, I moved to Arizona and my whole life changed. I mean, everything out of nowhere just was totally different. And, I think sometimes what happens is that we get stuck because maybe we're not where we think we should be in life. Like we feel like we're behind in life. We feel like we're stuck. We feel like we're not really seeing any progress. But that's just because sometimes we have to get our bearings and we have to do a lot of the inner work before the outside stuff manifests. Like I was at home, like I said, for my parents' house for 3 years. Not much was happening. I wasn't traveling much at all. I didn't have a lot of friends at all in person, especially. All my friends were online. And there were a lot of nights where I felt stuck and I felt like I was just falling behind in life. And then before I knew it, I had a buddy, one of my friends called me and said, "Hey, I'm going to Phoenix, Arizona. I'm going to go move there in a few months. Do you want to come with me?" And I was like, "Hell yeah. Like, let's do it. I'm going to have a fresh start." And everything changed at that point. Me going to Arizona in 2022 was kind of like my end of the hermit phase, or end of the time I spent letting the old realities fall apart. It's so important though, because if we try to force things and we try to, if we're not really patient enough and we try to get out there and make things happen, sometimes it can backfire. It really can backfire. And, a couple examples of this would be just when I was at home, I was trying to push my content, my videos. I was trying to really grow, and I wasn't having much success. I think because, number one, I wasn't very skilled. Like my videos weren't good. I wasn't able to speak very well, and I also just wasn't very grounded in my videos. I wasn't able to be relatable as much. I was talking a lot about like ideas that weren't super grounded and like they were kind of too abstract. So there's reasons why we are where we are in life right now. And we have to put some trust. We have to put some trust into our intuition, into our angels, our spirit team, or the universe, or God. And we have to also be willing to go into the unknown, which can be the hardest part. Sometimes we don't want to go into the unknown. We want to just stay where it's comfortable. We want to stay with what's familiar. And this is probably the hardest part, but we have to be able to let things fall away. People, jobs, where we're living, our passions, our hobbies, what we're eating or drinking or consuming, these things have to fall apart. And this is like the biggest thing I want to say is that a lot of people are creating their realities from fear. It's a subconscious pattern. People that you see that are always working super hard, they're always going, gotta go do this, gotta do that. A lot of people deep down are scared and anxious. They don't feel good enough. They don't feel worthy enough. They feel like they gotta prove themselves to the world. And I've been there, right? I've been there. I've seen people, and I've been there myself. So I want to emphasize to you that to create your dream reality, to design your dream life, we have to slow down. We have to let things fall away, and we have to just develop that security within us. Because you could still go and create it right now. You could go and use force and use all this effort, and you could go and whatever your dream is, you could go do it right now and just take massive action towards it. And action is still good, but you could go and force it right now. The problem with that is that you might achieve one of your goals. You might get that house, that car, that income level, the relationship, whatever it is you want. You might get that, but if on the inside you're still insecure and you're still not able to feel safe in your own body, and you still have kind of these like things to work on internally, it might fall apart. You might get that thing, hit that goal, but it might not be sustainable. It might not last because you skipped some steps, right? We have to do a lot of unlearning. We have to do a lot of inner work, and everything's going to happen in perfect timing. That's the other part of this too, is that I'm a big believer in getting clear on, like I said, about the feeling. How do you want to feel every single day? The freedom, the love, the joy, the abundance, the creativity. Focus on that, and then just take it day by day. Don't try to do it all in one day, 1 week, because that old style of forcing things and taking all this effort, I really believe it's not going to work in this new earth, in this new way of living that we're all getting into. So I'm curious to know about you. What old reality has fallen apart for you? Because for me, like I was sharing, it was when I was in New York City, it was my actuarial career, my past life. It all fell apart. It was tough. People thought I was crazy for doing what I'm doing now, which is the content. But I want to know about leave me a comment down below. What has fallen apart for you? Maybe what are you letting go of? And then what are you trying to call in as far as your next chapter? All right, because a lot of people, I'm sure, are going to be seeing the comments, and this is really exciting. You can create whatever you want, but we have to understand that it's more about the place that we're creating from. So the more we can have a daily practice, meditation, journaling, slowing down, getting really comfortable in our own skin, feeling safe in our own bodies, that way, as we go take action towards our dreams, we're not going to self-sabotage it. We're not going to destroy it, because we're going to be able to hold the frequency of it. We're going to be able to match the frequency of our dream reality. All right, my friend, if this video helped you out, give me a subscription down below or follow me down below. I'll see you very soon. Take care.